Time to go to the humidor and pick out the cigar for today. What are we doing? What are we doing? Which one of these are we going to enjoy? This one. I've been looking forward to this one. It's the Gurkha Kraken, the 15-year Limitada. Very unusual cigar, as you're going to see from this review. This is exciting. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome out to another review of our channel, Simply Being Shipley Cigar and Pipe. I do appreciate you being with us while we're learning how to do this and giving us as much recommendations as possible so we can make it a better channel. Today we're going to be reviewing the Gurkha Celllar Limitada 15-year Manduro. Now, before we get too far into this, let me just kind of give you a heads up. So when we do our reviews, what we're doing is we're showing you some video of materials that come from other sources, including the cigar manufacturer websites, some really good pictures that are out there. And then we're going to, in the middle of everything, we're going to show you the video that I took of the smoking process and all of my notes as to everything I'm experiencing. So trying to give you a little bit of everything. Now, if you have any suggestions for us, like I said before, please let us know. We're trying to do the unconventional guide to cigar and pipe culture. We have a channel that we're designing for real enthusiasts. So please join us on this journey. Let's get into this cigar. So the manufacturer is the Gurkha Cigar Group. Reading a little bit of what you can already see on the screen, Cellar Reserve Limitada is a rich and robust cigar using the finest 15-year aged tobacco. It has a very special Brazilian Maduro wrapper, and then the aged Dominican binder and a 15-year Dominican filler. The regular Cellar Reserve, as with the regular Cellar Reserve, this cigar is full of flavor and complexity with an added layer of sweetness and body on finish. Now, just looking at this cigar, you make assumptions as to what it's going to taste and behave like. And I'm telling you, it's not. I was incredibly surprised, incredibly well surprised by the quality and the intense, great flavors I got out of this guy. Now there's three sizes. There's the Cellar, the Hedonism, and the Kraken. You gotta love these names. The Kraken is the one that we are going to smoke, the 60 by 6. This is an awesome size. I like this size. I love the name, but it's definitely one of my favorite sizes for just the type of smoking that I like to do. Just as a rule of thumb, the thicker the cigar, the slower and cooler that it's going to burn. The thinner the cigar, the faster it's going to burn, and it's going to get hotter because it's burning faster with not as much material in the area of the cherry on the cigar. So keep that in mind. So I like these slow, cooler, just relaxed time cigars. So the Kraken was the route that I chose to go. The wrapper, like we talked before, is a Brazilian Maduro. The binder is a Dominican. The filler is a 15-year aged Dominican, and it's made in the Dominican Republic. On the outside, the oily wrapper has a really dark, rich cocoa flavor, and it has an appearance that's similar if you're into leather, having a double anilined leather with all the different color tone variations throughout. It's pretty neat. Now, On these cigars, as you find on a lot of Gurkhas, it's, I don't know, contradictory, catch-22. I'm trying to find the right word. It's a paradox. These cigars are paradoxes because you look at it and you see all the veins and the edges on the wrappers and the seams, and you expect that it's not going to have a very good construction. But then when you feel it, it's oily and smooth and extremely well made. That being said, I happen to have gotten one that was damaged that I did not know until I took the cellophane wrapper off. These cigars end in a twisted pigtail, and it's really important that you don't rip those because it causes the wrapper to start to come undone and start to have issues. This particular stick, I don't know if it was dropped or what the case was, but it had some damage to the end where we cut. I'm sorry, not cut. The end where we light, but also had issues because the pigtail was missing and the mouth end of the cigar was fairly torn up, as you'll see in the video. That resulted in some issues with the wrapper cracking at some points and just being inconsistent, but it did not impact the joy that I got from the cigar whatsoever. So we'll get more into that in the video itself. Hey folks, welcome out for another video. Today we're going to be reviewing the Gurkha, as you know from our intro clips. This is quite an amazing cigar. I am very excited to tell you all about it. Now, notice the end of this, it is torn up. We talked about how the pigtail was ripped off and this was damaged. Had a lot of weirdness. I think the end was compacted because when I tried to cut it here, it just meets a lot of resistance. So I had to go in just a little bit more off than what I'd normally like to take off. But it is what it is. And I did have an overall good experience with the cigar. So we're going to get into that a little bit more detailed. One of the things that I would like you to know about how we're going to be doing these reviews is when I do the smoking, I do not want to give up family time because I have a pretty hectic life and I don't want a lot of imperfections or noise from the neighborhood. So what I plan to do, unless you give me good feedback otherwise, is to do the smoking version here and record it without audio, and you'll see me talking to family members and everybody as we sit out and relax on the back patio after a long day's work. And like in a video like this, you're going to get to see us go from bright sunlight all the way into the evening because this cigar took an incredible hour and a half to just pleasurably, slowly smoke. So I was very happy with that. Here you see I'm taking notes as we're getting into this. So right from the beginning, I can tell you that this draw on the cigar was smooth and it stayed that way all the way through. At the very start of the cigar, you get a tiny, light, spicy, leathery taste. And then after, say, 2-3 millimeters in, your main flavor becomes a vanilla with a very light floral, leathery subtext to it. But the vanilla is the more dominant flavor that I got. And it's even more pronounced when you retrohale and you pick it up through your nasal system. It's a really unexpected, light in texture, but strong in flavor, rich in flavor type of response from the cigar or flavoring from the cigar. I was very, very happy with it. You'll see I'm taking a look at it and just enjoying it. And I'm sorry, as the sun's setting, the camera is going to adjust a bit and go in and out of frequency just a tad. Now, the construction on the cigars you're going to see, although I will show you some spots up ahead where the wrapper is coming apart from both ends due to imperfections in it from the damage. Matter of fact, right here, you'll see how I had to cut it slightly sloping, unfortunately, to try to get as much of the tip as I could. Well, there was some cracking that occurred, and you'll see that not only is that edge starting to unravel a bit, but a little bit in at one point, some cracking was causing some bleed through, smoke, airflow. So I just had to smoke a little bit higher, put a little bit more of the cigar in my mouth to cover that. Here's the ash. You'll see it starts out with more randomness as it's coming down that bell type of shape formation at the end. And as we go and I show you more of the ash, you'll see it gets more to that stacked nickel, stacked dime type of ash burn. And this ash stays on forever. Although we had the issues with the wrapper, the overall construction as far as strength of the ash and the flow of the air through the stick is amazing. You'll see right here we're starting to get a little bit of an uneven burn, but that catches up pretty quick and stays fairly close together as you go down. And this is where you'll start to see that stacking, that dime stacking or nickel stacking, depending on who you're talking to, type of formation in the ash. Now, the smoke on this cigar, although it does smoke a lot, it's a very transparent smoke. There's not a lot of body, visual body to the smoke. So it may seem like there's not a lot coming out, but there is quite a bit. As we get into the nighttime, you will see more substance to the smoke that you don't necessarily catch as much in the brighter daylight. Let's see where we are here in a second. So we're getting into about the second quarter of the stick at this point. In this stage, I started to get a milk chocolate come in and be very present with the vanilla flavor. As we approached the middle of the cigar, it became more milk chocolate, and I know that it's sometimes frustrating when reviewers give out these crazy flavors that make absolutely no sense. But literally what I was getting, in addition to the milk chocolate at about the halfway point, is I was starting to pick up the presence of a flavoring that I can only describe so that you can understand it as cherry Dr. Pepper. It was a very, very pleasant, good, fruity, deeper flavor that blended in with that milk chocolate. And you'll see that ash is really, really building on there. And I'm waving the cigar around. I'm hitting my elbow down on the chair arm. This ash is just there. The construction of the filler was extremely good. Let's give it a few more minutes to get a little bit further into the video. We're getting close to taking off the wrapper here. I like to remove the wrapper when there's about a half to a quarter inch away from the burn line so that the heat can break down the gummy fruit material that they use to glue the wrapper around. And we're going to be getting pretty close to that here. Just take a look at that ash. And you see that the burn line is fairly well evened out at this point. I am just so impressed, as you can see, with the flavor on this cigar. Definitely going to go out today and get a bunch of these to age in my humidor. I have a 3-level humidor. I'm dedicating the bottom of it to aging some of my favorite flavors, favorite sticks, and we're going to put some of these in there for sure. Now there you go. The band is coming off right now. And when I took it off, I'm showing you there that there is no residual on the wrapper itself. Gurkha did have a lot of attention to detail to make sure that it only got on the paper band, so it came off easy and it didn't damage the cigar in any way. Nothing is more frustrating than getting to this point on a very high-end cigar. There's information that's on the inside back of the cigar. It's the website for the company. Inside back of the label. There's a front label, very well done. That being said, a lot of companies get so sloppy on putting those bands on that gummy fruit pectin dries and tears. Oh, by the way, here you can see the cracking that's starting to occur in the wrapper. Again, I really feel like it was dropped and damaged in addition to having that pigtail ripped off on the end. I'm sure that this does not exist as a regular thing because of how well the rest of the cigar is constructed. And it did not really change the behavior of the cigar or the flavoring or anything else with it. So, as I was saying earlier, the biggest deal for me with these wrappers is when you get a $20, $30, $40 stick and it just breaks down when you take that wrapper off and or that label off and it tears the wrapper. Notice, by the way, there and throughout the rest of the video that the smoke has more substance now that it's dark out, and you can see it against the dark backdrop. But yeah, I've lost many sticks to having a bad experience with taking the label off. Notice how big that ash is. This just grows. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit and just tell you right now so you can watch this. That ash stays on until right there. It's almost 2/3 the length of the cigar when it comes off. I could not believe how well that ash stayed on. And when I go and take a look at it on the ground, the bulk of it stayed together even when it hit the ground. Right there is when I'm looking at it. It still maintains its form and shape. Very happy with it. Now, I know this part of the video is much shorter than the whole time that I smoked, but I smoked for an hour and a half. And I got down to just the end when it started to heat up a bit. And it was, at that point, I was literally running out of time. But I love this cigar. Now that we saw the video, just to recap things, before the light, due to the shape and the nearly closed in, there was not a practical way to do a good before the light draw. The flavors, as you saw in the video, the main flavors I got were vanilla with the addition of milk chocolate in the first quarter, and those stayed. And on top of that, in the second quarter came in a touch of leather, and toward the end of the cigar, say the last third, you started to get a growing presence of walnut. But the flavors worked very well together. They maintained a light, great flavorful consistency. The draw and the burn's consistent, as you saw in the video. I was very happy with the draw on the cigar. Like the Perdomo, it had just enough resistance to allow you to build some of the smoke and pressure and flavor, but not enough to slow it down or make you feel like you were having to put any effort into the drawing. So there was no blockages. Now my ratings and final thoughts. Gurkha quality is usually extremely good, even though they present a rougher appearance as we talked about. Now, ratings and final thoughts. Gurkha quality is usually extremely good, even though they present a rougher appearance, like we talked earlier. The cigar I had was damaged, and I believe that the troubles I had with the wrapper were unique to that stick because of it. That being said, this is one of the absolute best tasting cigars that I've had. It is a surprisingly smooth and refined taste for a Manduro, which is normally just bold. You get strong flavors, but it's not normally smooth. This is the best of both worlds. You get to enjoy the pleasure of having refinement and strong flavors. I definitely recommend that you go out and try this one. Here's my ratings. Again, as always, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest. Build overall an 8, 4 for my damage stick. The draw was a 9. The flavor was an absolute 10. Smoothness of the finish was a 9. And the consistency of these cigars, just from the way that they're made, being very veiny, I gave the consistency an 8. Now, heads up for an upcoming video. Please look out for this. There's some crazy stuff that's happened in the history of Gurkha, and we're going to cover that in our history series, Tobacco History, the troubled and acclaimed history of Gurkha. So take a look out for that. If you like this cigar, if you like the reviews, you're going to find the history part of this company fascinating. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video.